Yo, what's going on, guys? Chris from FAPReactions back with another top 5 video. You may have already seen my top 5 video on what I want to see at WrestleMania, but this time I'm talking after WrestleMania. The call-ups, what makes Raw after Mania so exciting, and now what can make SmackDown after Mania also exciting. I'm here to bring to you the top 5 NXT superstars that should be called up, what brand they should go to, and who they should feud with first. Number 5, Elias Samson. Now, it may sound crazy, Elias Samson being on the main roster, because he hasn't really done anything in NXT. But he did have a match against Cassius Ohno in a loser leaves NXT. So before you hit the dislike button, hear me out on this. That is most likely the reason for him leaving NXT, is to become a main roster wrestler. Now, where should he go? SmackDown Live. Why? Because SmackDown Live can revive people. Now, we've seen so many people look great on SmackDown Live, and Kevin Owens and other people have said that apparently there's a huge amount of positivity in the SmackDown Live locker room because they're doing so much better than Raw. SmackDown has the ability to take smaller guys and make them seem better. Example, Heath Slater and Rhino. They did it with James Ellsworth. They have the ability to make little rivalries seem a lot better. The Dolph Ziggler, Apollo Crews, Kalisto rivalry has boosted them, and what would normally be a terrible rivalry on the main roster has become a relevant rivalry on SmackDown due to the good booking. So Elias Samson goes to SmackDown. Who should he feud with, though? He needs someone that can basically help him, boost him up, and make him an actual player in SmackDown Live. That person, Dean Ambrose. They need to have Dean Ambrose drop the Intercontinental Championship to Baron Corbin, who deserves a title run by now. Ambrose can then feud with Elias Samson to help him build him up into a legit superstar. So Samson isn't just a jobber like he was in NXT. You have Samson now built up from Ambrose, and you have another strong mid-carder. This doesn't mean that Samson has to win the series of matches against Ambrose, but he does have to look strong in most of the matches. If he looks good and makes him a legit mid-carder on SmackDown Live and adds to the depth that they already have, and they've already done so great since the brand split, adding Elias Samson and building him back up will be another success story of SmackDown Live. Number 4, or should I say number 10, Tye Dillinger to Monday Night Raw. Now, originally my thought was Tye Dillinger should go to SmackDown, but the 10 gimmick is so over, it probably should be on the real A show. Now, I know SmackDown seems like the A show, but in the end of the day, Raw will always be the flagship show. Now, Tye Dillinger would look great on SmackDown, obviously, but if he goes to Raw, that is just going to look even better for the Raw and the mid-carders, who's really been lacking as of late. The United States Championship was held by Rusev, didn't really have anyone else to feud with, and then Roman Reigns beat him, and Roman Reigns only faced Rusev and Chris Jericho, and that's about it. Then he lost it to Chris Jericho. Jericho's had one title defense against Sami Zayn, and I believe he defended it against Roman Reigns before, but other than that, he hasn't done anything. He most likely will be losing it to Kevin Owens at WrestleMania. Adding Tye Dillinger to the mix adds another person who can actually hold the United States Championship. Now, who should he feud with? He should feud with Rusev. Now, I'm not saying Dillinger should win the United States Championship right away, because if Kevin Owens beats Chris Jericho, he most likely will hold the title for a decent amount of time. But you need someone to work Tye Dillinger into the main roster. Someone that can afford to lose and still have credibility, that is at the mid-card level, but also kind of near the main event level. That guy is Rusev. Rusev has the ability to put over people. He has the ability to have great matches with people. He's the perfect mid-carder for Dillinger to ease his way into the main roster with. You have the perfect 10 on Monday Night Raw because both mid-cards on Raw and SmackDown seem to be lacking a certain person. SmackDown gets Elias Samson just for the depth. Raw gets Tye Dillinger as a legit contender in the mid-card division. Number 3, The Revival. The Revival have been teased to go to the main roster for quite some time, and to be honest, it's well overdue. They've been the best tag team in NXT's history, winning the titles twice, and they'll be facing DIY and the Authors of Pain at NXT Orlando. Now, most likely, either the Authors of Pain will retain or DIY will pin the Revival, and they can continue their feud with the Authors of Pain for the NXT tag titles, but the Revival have basically run their course in NXT. There's really nothing left for them to do. They can hold the titles for a third time, but what sense is that, because they've already faced almost every tag team. Now, while the NXT tag team division does lack depth, so does the Raw tag team division. The Raw tag team division sees the New Day, who have faced everyone because of their long title reign. Cesaro and Sheamus were the ones to take the titles off the New Day, but they basically just held as a shift over for the club winning the tag titles. You have Enzo and Cass, who can't seem to win the big one, and who knows if they ever will. And obviously, as I mentioned before, the club are your tag team champions. So tonight on Raw, this video is being recorded before Monday Night Raw, so we don't know what the Mania match, will be for the Raw tag team titles. So it could be Enzo and Cass versus the club, it could be Cesaro and Sheamus versus the club, or it could be what I think: Cesaro and Sheamus, Enzo and Cass, and the club in a three-way tag title match. Now the Revival then goes to Raw and feuds with whoever holds the titles. Most likely wouldn't be the club. What would make the most sense is a team like Enzo and Cass winning the titles, and then the next night the Revival spoil their title reign. Enzo and Cass finally win the big one at WrestleMania, the Revival come in and steal it from them. While we have seen the Enzo and Cass Revival feud before, it makes more sense for them to come in and steal the titles off of them more than their matches with American Alpha. Now, SmackDown does need tag teams, but they seem to be doing alright with the tag teams they already have. If the Broken Hardys do come to the WWE, I think it makes more sense for them to feud with the New Day and then shift over to SmackDown through the draft. If the Hardys go on and go to Raw full-time, then the Revival should then go to SmackDown and they could take the titles off there. Either way, the Revival need to win the tag titles on whatever brand they go to. So they can go to either Raw or SmackDown, it doesn't matter. But in my booking, they're going to Raw to help them actually have more than one feud. And one thing I forgot to mention, the New Day is most likely going to go to SmackDown when there's either another brand split or if there's going to be another trades or whatever they may make. So I see the New Day going to SmackDown, adding depth there, and the Revival then fills in for them as another strong heel tag team. Number 2, Asuka. Now, Asuka, in my opinion, works better on the Raw Women's division because she has people that are actually logically able to beat her. Charlotte, Sasha, Nia Jax, Bayley, all are legit factors to beat Asuka. Asuka may fit better, in my opinion, on Raw. I think it's more likely she goes to SmackDown. Now, she was at the WWE MSG show, and they have teased that Asuka will go after Alexa Bliss's title. So I think it is more likely that she heads to SmackDown and wins the title at WrestleMania. They said the match is open for anyone on the SmackDown women's roster. That doesn't mean that Asuka won't be signed to SmackDown. She can get signed after her match against Ember Moon, who she will possibly be dropping the title to at NXT Orlando. So you have her drop the title to Ember Moon. The next night, she takes the title off Alexa Bliss in the multi-person match, and it's like nothing ever went wrong. Asuka has a loss, so she seems somewhat credible before heading up to the main roster, but she still, 24 hours later, became a champion again and stays strong in the making. And number 1, Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, Nakamura fits on both Raw and SmackDown, and to be honest, it's tough for me to decide if he should go to Raw or if he should go to SmackDown. But the fact that Samoa Joe went to Raw leads me into believing that Shinsuke Nakamura should go over to SmackDown. Now, we all want to see Nakamura versus AJ Styles, but that match has to happen at WrestleMania. It can't happen at any other event. I can see it happening at SummerSlam, but that would just be a shame. So I would move Nakamura to SmackDown. He adds to the main event talent, especially because John Cena won't be there for a couple months because he's going to film 2 movies. So you need some top name values. You need someone to feud with Bray Wyatt, someone to feud with Randy Orton, someone to feud with AJ Styles, possibly if he doesn't get moved from a trade or a brand split, whatever they may be doing in a couple months. So Nakamura is a guaranteed main eventer who should be on SmackDown because they need guaranteed main eventers. With the lack of John Cena showing up and some guys who are better in the mid-card role rather than the main event role like Dolph Ziggler when they moved him to the main event role for SummerSlam and he didn't do too well. Dean Ambrose, who was the main eventer, leader of the show, and to be honest, it just felt a little lackluster. Some of them just seem better in the mid-card. Nakamura is a guaranteed main eventer who will strive on SmackDown Live. He can feud with basically anyone, and he can add more fuel to the fire of SmackDown Live's great run. So that's my top 5 NXT superstar or superstars that should be going to the main roster after WrestleMania. Comment your top 5 down below. Do you want to see Bobby Roode get called up? You think he needs to be on the main roster? Maybe Cassius Ohno needs a run? Or maybe Ciampa and Gargano need to be in the Cruiserweight division? You let me know with a comment down below of your top 5. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe if you're not a part of the FAPReactions family yet. Join the FAP Army right now. Hit the subscribe button down below. I'm Chris from FAPReactions, and I will see you guys next time.